Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Always Compete Seahawks podcast. I'm Mike, here with Matt from the Nuggets of Gold podcast. Today, we're going to be previewing the Seahawks' very big game against the 49ers on Sunday. Unfortunately, no Sam today. He's got a high school football game, so hopefully, good luck to Sam. But, Matt, I like having you on the show, obviously. It's fun to have him, and this is the first of the two matchups between both of these teams in a very competitive NFC West. Right now, the Seahawks are last in the division. I don't know how many times I've said that in my life, but, kind of what are your quick thoughts kind of before heading into this game on Sunday?
Well, I know we're going to talk about it in a bit here, but both these teams are coming into this game super hungry, coming off of really bad losses. For the Seahawks, it was more about they just looked really bad. Specifically, Trey Flowers looked atrocious.
Yep, Trey Flowers hater, I appreciate it.
They got killed by the Vikings. For the 49ers, they looked horrible in that first half, and then their defense let up at the end there. And they had some really good stops in the second half and in the second quarter as well, that the Niners defense did, but giving up that late field goal on 32nd yards, and I get it's Aaron Rodgers, but definitely leaves a very, very sour taste in your mouth. So two really tough losses right now for both these teams.
Right. And obviously, with the Rams and Cardinals both being 3-0, Niners are 2-1, Seahawks at 1-2. I mean, you got to win. All these games are important, to keep pace in the NFC West. So very important game coming up here. Just to start off with some injuries. I'll go over kind of the injuries for the Seahawks, and then Matt, you can talk about, the Niners. For the Seahawks, nothing too crazy. Again, we don't have Rashad Penny. Would it even be a Seahawks game at this point if Rashad Penny wasn't out with an injury? We have Brandon Shell, who's out again and was out last week. So that's obviously not good to not have your starting right tackle going against the Niners D-line. Another player that is injured is D. Eskridge. Dwayne Eskridge is coming back from his concussion, but he's not there yet. It sounds like he's listed as doubtful, so don't think he's going to play. And then Benson Mayowa, Alton Robinson, and Tyler Lockett are questionable. I would imagine that those guys play, especially Tyler Lockett. I really would not think that he would miss the game. And then last thing is Gerald Everett had a positive COVID test or was put in the COVID protocols. He is vaccinated, so he only needs 2 negative COVID tests, but there's a little bit of confusion on if he's going to be able to get that before the time of the game. So we'll see with him. Hopefully Gerald Everett is good to go. Obviously, we could use all hands on deck, but, minor, but, some fairly decent guys on the injury report for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of guys, not crazy significant, especially if Tyler Lockett plays.
Mm-hmm.
Alton Robinson, do you think he's going to be a go, even though he's questionable?
I think Alton will play. I think all the guys who are questionable will play for sure. That's my opinion.
Brandon Shell's a pretty solid loss.
Yeah.
Penny, Eskridge, I like Eskridge, that. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
But at this point, he's not contributing a ton.
But he's not a game changer yet. Yeah.
The Niners definitely have way bigger question marks. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So 2 guys that are not going to play, K'Wan Williams is out. That's the Niners nickel corner. He's very, very good at that spot. Pretty specific nickel corner. He's a guy that doesn't play inside out. He's only inside. But he's going to be out. So that causes a big problem at corner. And then on top of that, Josh Norman had a lung? I forget. It was the injury, not that Tyrod had, that Keenan Allen had. No, he had a kidney laceration. A lung contusion, I think it was, for Josh Norman, and he's doubtful, so he's not going to play. So they were missing 2 starting corners. So in the cornerback department, you're looking at a team that is now going to be rocking with. So they have 2 guys that are solid: Emmanuel Mosley and Diamondor Lenore. Diamondor Lenore is a 5th-round rookie. They have given him a ton of responsibility in these first 3 games, and he has looked fantastic. However, if one of those guys goes down, they are so thin. It is terrifying. The other guys that they've signed that could potentially play this game, Dre Kirkpatrick, Dante Johnson. If Dante Johnson's in, it's done. And Buster Skrine, who literally just got signed this week. And he could play nickel. I'm fine if he's playing nickel. I would honestly rather have him play nickel and let Emmanuel Mosley and Diamondor Lenore play outside. I bet that they have Diamondor Lenore or Emmanuel Mosley play inside, and then they start Dre Kirkpatrick. I know you have a couple things that about Dre Kirkpatrick against a certain Tyler Lockett.
Yes.
I'll let you share that later in the episode.
Yeah.
But then the other spots for the Niners, that's horrible. they're potentially missing George Kittle. Yeah, he's
Big loss.
That guy.
Big loss.
Devon Kinlaw, who is their best interior defender if Armstead's playing outside. If Armstead kicks inside, he probably is. But Javon Kinlaw is a very, very good player. Very, very important for this run-stopping defense as well. He's been huge this year. And then Elijah Mitchell, who is their number 1 running back at this point.
Yeah.
And Elijah Mitchell is really good. I mean, I like him a lot. If
right.
you have Trey Sermon, Kyle Juszczyk back there, like, it gets a little scary. So potentially those questionable guys could make a huge difference. And we won't know until Sunday.
Right. And I just wanted to say, one thing really quick. Richard Sherman, obviously, a couple days ago, signed with the Buccaneers. I know we've been talking about it a little bit. I'm very surprised Richard Sherman didn't sign with one of our teams, just because the history there. Kind of signing with the new team kind of very much surprised me. So obviously we're both thin at cornerback. The Seahawks, not so much because of injury, just because they suck. But I was really hoping that one of us was going to be able to sign Sherm. But that didn't happen. He's going and he's clout chasing with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. So best of luck to him. But kind of switching from injuries kind of to the offensive keys. So for Seattle and, San Francisco, he's going to talk about it. We have some offensive keys. The offensive keys for the Seahawks are going to be run the ball well in the second half. We ran the ball very well in the first half against Minnesota. I believe Chris Carson had like 80 yards. And then we got down and we stopped running the ball. So especially with the 49ers, they're going to run the ball against our defense. We're going to have to give our defense some time to catch their breath. Run the ball. Let's not go 3 and out a bunch of times and just gas our defense. And like I said, continuing with the theme of playing well in the second half, this whole season we have not played well offensively in the second half. First half, we've been amazing. We've been borderline unstoppable. We've scored on most of our possessions. And then in the second half, we just kind of deflate and we're just really not the same. So I want to see them keep the up-tempo pace. I want to see, still the creative play calls in the second half. I want to see them run the ball. And my last key is that you can't turn the ball over at all. You cannot give extra possessions and hope for a stop for your defense. Not that the Seahawks have turned the ball over really this year, but they just cannot afford to turn the ball over against the 49ers. So those are my keys offensively for the Seahawks. Matt, what do you have for offensively for the Niners?
So for the Niners, it's really just one thing. You need to be able to run the football. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can and can't do that. That's been the problem for the Niners. Do they have the personnel? Yes, 100%. They have one of the best personnel, even if there's no George Kittle. They're very, very good at sealing the edge and getting outside. However, the problem has been, and this is why it's such a big deal against the Seahawks, is that teams are crowding the box. Mm-hmm. And obviously, you see Jamal Adams get, his slack for playing around the line of scrimmage. But in this matchup, he could have a huge game. Mm-hmm. And so you need to threaten them down the field. Jimmy Garoppolo has not even done that kind of sort of yet this year, not at all. Mm-hmm. It has been terrible outside of right around the line of scrimmage in the middle of the field. So he needs to either push the ball, or we need to see a little bit of Trey Lance. Obviously, you see I'm wearing his jersey right now. A little bit of him mixed in to this offense. See him have some downfield shots. Now, when they've brought him in this year, it's been mostly runs. I would love if they ran a little look like they're running a power run, set up to that one side, and then throw it all the way across the field. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's a Brandon Ayuk on Trey Flowers matchup. Because I know my guy's going to be open on that one.
Mercy.
But the problem isn't these guys getting open. It's not Deebo Samuel, not George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, even Trent Sherfield getting open. No, the problem is that you have so many safeties just begging you. Please throw it outside. Please throw it deep. Oh, you're not going to? Okay, we're going to play 8-9 guys in the box. Mm-hmm. You can't win like that. You're not going to be able to win, and you can't run the football when you're down a man or even 2 men sometimes on specific run plays.
Right.
You got to be able to spread the ball. You got to be able to get it going. So that's the biggest thing for me, and that's really the only thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you guys being able to run the ball. Moving on to some defensive keys for the Seahawks. Defensive key number 1. I want this to be starred, underlined, circled, arrows pointing to it. Get Trey Flowers out of the game. That's just point number 1. I want to see some Sidney Jones. Me and Sam, we've been pounding on the table to see Sidney Jones. Not so much even because we're just so in love with Sidney Jones, but just we're so sick of Trey Flowers just getting burnt every play. There were plays last week where Trey Flowers he looked like he didn't know where he was. Jefferson ran a comeback route. Trey Flowers was still running like it was a go route. Jefferson had 15 yards of space. So please get Trey Flowers out of the game. But in terms of the whole defense, what we need to do that we haven't done so far this year is we need to get stops on third down. Way too many times, especially in Minnesota last week, there was 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 8, whatever, and we just let them get the first down. And they were just marching all the way down the field, converting third down. So we need to get a stop on third down. And, obviously, like Matt said, the Niners are going to want to run the ball. We need to stop them from running the ball. I think the Seahawks run defense -1/2 against the Titans has been pretty solid this year, but who knows? We haven't gone against a play caller like Shanahan. And obviously he's got that running back by committee. So I think the Seahawks run defense is going to be tested for sure, but get those stops on third downs and please, dear God, stop that run and get Trey Flowers out of the game. Those are my keys.
No, I think that's a good point. Third down also, maybe not this year. I don't know the numbers this year, but in his prior seasons, Jimmy Garoppolo has been a very, very efficient quarterback on third down. So trust me, I'm not out here defending Jimmy a ton, but
he's really wearing his backup's jersey. Yeah.
Yes, I'm wearing his, the future starter. I'm not too keen on seeing him out there every Sunday. But he has been really good at them. So credit, give him some credit there. That's something where also you start bringing up these corners. So DJ Reed's, he's still playing outside, right?
Yeah.
So then who's playing in the nickel?
So outside we have Trey and DJ, and then in the nickel we'll either have Ugo. Sometimes we'll put Marquise Blair. Sometimes it'll be.
Okay, no Marquise Blair. I don't know Ugo.
Ugo is probably going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy for sure.
Okay. I don't know a ton about him, but a lot of times
he's
only run 2 wideouts.
Yeah. He's been iffy this year, but I have high hopes for him in the future.
Yeah. So that's going to be huge because I also am very fascinated who the Seahawks match up against. If they match up, if they choose not to. If I were them, I would definitely put DJ Reed on Brandon Ayuk and then put Trey Flowers on Debo. I know Debo has better numbers, but Debo's a big dude, and DJ Reed I think would really struggle against him. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah.
Debo has been a monster possession receiver early on this year, something that I did not see coming.
Right.
And so that's an area where he's just gonna manhandle him. Where DJ Reed will really give Brandon Ayuk some trouble, I think. I don't think that's a good matchup for Brandon, a very physical corner like him, even though he's small.
Yeah, he's feisty, yeah.
He doesn't win like that against those guys as well. Where if he's playing Trey Flowers, he's gonna cook. Brandon Ayuk will cook Trey Flowers every time.
I don't even want to imagine Brandon Ayuk one-on-one against Trey Flowers.
And at least when you have Trey Flowers on Debo, at least Trey's a little bigger.
Yeah,
that's honestly my thought.
Yeah, I think Trey's 6. Well, that's the reason Pete loves him is because Trey Flowers is 6'3" with long arms.
Pete loves his big corners.
Salivates at the mouth every big corner with long arms. Yep.
No, I like it though. But for the Niners defense, it's really going to be something similar because I think that you heard all I said about the secondary. There's massive struggles there. You got to make the lives easier for the secondary. So a couple ways to do that. One, they've played in my opinion, and going into this matchup, especially for this matchup, they've played a lot of single high and no safety help for these corners, and that is not going to fly in this game. That is going to be, if you do that, you're going to get absolutely cooked. I don't think they will. I think they're going to see Kwaski Tart. Maybe you see Kwaski Tart around the line of scrimmage a little bit. Maybe you see them bring 2 safeties back. Maybe they bring in Tavon Wilson off the bench to pair back there with Jimmy Ward, but they need to give the corner some help because else this is going to be such a tough game. I love Diamador Lenore. I love E-Man, but those are the only 2 solid corners on the roster. And say one of them goes down and you're not really ready to have that, a game plan where you have the secondary getting so much help on the back end. It's going to be really tough. So that's a huge deal. Another thing is when you get an opportunity to sack Russell Wilson, you need to get him down. Easier said than done, of course.
Yeah.
But and I don't think it's going to be Russell Wilson just running for his life all the time. Because they're going to get the ball off quick, I think, on a lot of these corners, especially if they play kind of passive in the secondary. But it's definitely one of those things where if you have an opportunity, if you have a guy, if you have him wrapped up, you need to bring him down. None of those plays where he spins off him and then rolls out. No, just fundamentally tackle him. All right.
Yeah.
Let's not get all crazy in the backfield because you see defensive ends and D tackles do that a lot. We're just like, dude.
It's fun to watch. It's very fun to watch. I'll never forget that play. I think it was Thanksgiving against the Niners where he just made like 8 guys miss, and then he found I think it was Luke Wilson on the sideline.
Was that it might have been Harbaugh's last year.
I think so. I think
like
it was
when everything just fell apart.
I think it was 2014, 2015. Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, probably.
That was awesome. That was one of my favorite plays I've ever seen. To me, that was pretty awesome. Seeing Russ just make 8 guys miss. Lastly, next, we're gonna talk about some key players. So I'm gonna give one offensive and one defensive key player. Matt, you actually stole my key player, which I'm kind of mad at. You mentioned Jamal Adams. We say a lot of time, me and Sam, we talk about Jamal Adams a lot. That's because Jamal is such a versatile guy. This week, I think last week we played Jamal more in coverage because we weren't worried about the run game as much with Dalvin Cook out. But this week, I would see him. I want to see him, up in the line of scrimmage a lot. I want to see him play in the box. He's going to be vital to stop the running game. No disrespect, but I don't think playing him in cover 3 where he's like playing center field or playing him in a deep zone is really going to be effective. I don't think it's necessary, rather, because I want to see him up on the line of scrimmage. I want to see him making plays, disrupting runs, just being the freak athlete that he is on defense. Offensively, I think my key player offensively, other than obviously the receivers, which are key every week, I want to see Chris Carson have a big game. I want to see him run the ball down the Niners' throat. They have a great front 7 over there in San Fran. Unfortunately, I hate to say, but I want to see Chris Carson just jam the ball down their throats. I want to see us run the ball well, control the clock, and I want to see us have a good running game. That'll set up, the play action and the deep shots that Russ likes to take. So Chris Carson and Jamal are 2 of my key players on offense and defense.
I'll start defensively because you're talking about run the football. I really don't think that's what the Seahawks should do. Like, I know that you go out there, you want to establish the run in most games. I think they should just let it rip. Like, the Niners are that beat up in the secondary. That's why my guy is going to be Jimmy Ward, Niners free safety. Extremely underrated player. He's great in coverage, great at playing that single high spot. He needs to play really well. He needs to not let anything get past him. When he's been healthy, when him and Kwaski Tart have been healthy, they've done a very good job about that. Their question marks have always been health related. Jimmy Ward last couple years has been healthy, and you've seen him just have some amazing performances. Last year against the Rams, I don't know how much of that game anyone listening, obviously you guys probably watching the Seahawks game at the same time. Niners played the Rams late in the season. Or not late in the season, like middle of the season when they were still in the hunt and like, oh, potentially all these guys are going to come back. Like, you could sneak into the playoffs. And they were starting Nick Mullins, and Jimmy Ward had an amazing game. Like, I think he had forced 2 fumbles.
Wow.
Had like a sack, had like a pick, like not a pick, but like had a bunch of PBUs. Like,
just went Jamal Adams mode on him.
I don't know about that. He's mainly a coverage guy. Like, he's a good cover player. He's played nickel. He's played corner outside. I'm actually an advocate if some of these corners go down to actually put him at corner, because I think he's that good in coverage. You're going to see him also in the slot a lot. Like, he's going to guard Tyler Lockett. He's going to guard tight ends.
He's going to try to guard Tyler Lockett.
Well, I think he's a solid matchup.
I'm just messing. Yeah.
If you see, but like, that's why I don't want to see like Dre Kirkpatrick out there against him. Like, you got to play to your strengths. And so he's a guy that really has to step up and have a great game. Offensively, I think for me, I'm going to go with Mike McGlinchey. I was thinking about going, like, the running game needs to get going. I was thinking about going with Trent Williams, but like, we know what Trent's going to do. Like, he's a great player. Mike McGlinchey's a little bit hit or miss. He needs to get his assignments correctly, like every single time when he's pass blocking. He's a guy that's definitely susceptible to some quicker guys, some guys that put on some pretty solid pass rush moves, especially extra blitzers. We know that the Seahawks love blitzing. You like bringing a lot of guys in the box. Like, I'm expecting that to be the case. You can't just miss an assignment, miss a guy inside. Like, you have to play very, very just smart. You don't need to do anything crazy. Like, even if you're not holding up like that long, like that's all right, but you need to like not lose it off the jump, and that's what he'll do sometimes. And then in the run game, he needs to dominate on that edge because they need some life in the run game. Jimmy Garoppolo not pushing the ball downfield has not been helping them, and so they need to almost manufacture that with like legit dominance in the trenches. So that's what I'm hoping happens, because he's the big piece to that, because he's kind of that wild card, even though he's played well this year, but I think he needs to have a huge game. So those are my 2 guys.
Yeah, no, I can totally agree with that. And another thing I'll say is we'll have probably Daryl Taylor going up against him one-on-one. And, Daryl Taylor, he's a fast guy. He's very fast. He's a little inexperienced, but he's fast. So I would love to see him just blow past McFloppy, as you like to say. Lastly,
Real quick. Isn't that the most disrespectful name ever for a nickname for a player?
So funny.
McFloppy?
McFloppy, that was so funny. I would have liked it if it was, I think even better would have been McFlurry, like if he's getting blown off all the time.
Yeah.
Like McFlurry, like
no,
the ice cream.
McFloppy is so mean, dude.
McFloppy, that's so disrespectful. But lastly, some predictions. Right now the betting line is Niners -3. And, me and Sam, we've told you the last 2 weeks to take the Seahawks to cover, but we also preface that it's not gambling advice. So if you've lost your mortgage these last couple of weeks listening to us, we're sorry, but we've told you it's not betting advice. It's not gambling advice. So don't listen to what we say unless we're right, obviously. But, we're going to kind of go through and give our predictions. So I guess we'll kind of go like a game score prediction and then kind of how you think the game's going to unfold. So, Matt, what's your score prediction for this game?
I actually just posted a preview. And obviously, I think the biggest thing is it's pretty dependent on some of these guys playing.
Yeah.
Going into that, I was expecting Norman to play. I was expecting Kittle to play. I was pretty much expecting everyone to play except for K1 Williams. No Norman. That is a huge loss.
Is it for sure
Kittle.
no Norman?
He's doubtful.
Yeah, that means basically, that means no. Yeah.
I'm really hoping Elijah Mitchell can play. And so, him, Kittle, it gets a little bit scary. My prediction was 31-30. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think that hopefully, for the Niners, if Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't look good in this game, it's not happening this year. That's my thought. Mm-hmm. Because Debo and Ayuk are great matchups against the Seahawks. Now, Jamal Adams and Bobby Wagner are great matchups against Jimmy Garoppolo, right? So that's the big thing there. The offense, the defense is great to stop a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. However, the wide receivers should be open. They should be open, and you should be letting it rip. And if you do that, you're going to open up the run game, and the 49ers offense should be great. However, there's a very possible chance that the Niners go out, they're flat on offense, and their corners are getting toasted because, like I was talking about, if they don't help, give some help on the back end, maybe bring Jimmy Ward in to cover Tyler Lockett, some guys like that, utilize him a ton, it could be really scary on the defensive side. Now, their defense has been good except for a couple lapses. But besides that, they've been pretty solid. Mm-hmm. The pass rush, my biggest issue with the defense is the pass rush hasn't been able to be there because other teams are getting the ball out so quick. And so you're kind of seeing teams neutralize that pass rush. However, the Seahawks like to take big shots down the field. A lot of that comes with Russell Wilson extending plays. But I do think it's a pretty good matchup for the Niners in the trenches, both sides. However, concerned about the secondary and concerned about the matchup of Jimmy Garoppolo against the Seahawks. So I think it's going to be a close game. And I think that, it could definitely be a blowout. We've seen how some of these games are. But I think it should be a close game. I think these are two really hungry teams. Like I said, they're both coming off of huge losses. They need a win. They both need to win, and they know how important this game is. You're going to see you guys fired up, and potentially this is a game where it just looks like not what we're really expecting going into it. So I'm kind of up in there, but I said 31-30 in my predictions. I'll stick with that. However, if we go check out oh yeah, none of those other guys are playing for the Niners, then you might see me reevaluate that a little bit.
Yeah. So again, the line is -3 for the Niners, and I've been known amongst my friends as a bit of a jinx when it comes to betting. Just a little bit, my bets tend to be incorrect. So I'm going to tell you right now, everybody at home watching, put your mortgage on Niners -3 right now. But this isn't gambling advice, so don't listen to me unless I'm right. But put your mortgage on Niners -3. I think this game now, another important fact I think I forgot to mention was Seahawks have never lost three in a row with Russell Wilson, and the Niners have never lost 2 in a row with Jimmy Garoppolo. So something's got to give here. My confidence level for this game is probably a 4 out of 10. The defense scares the shit out of me. So I'm gonna say this game is probably gonna be. I'm gonna go 30-24 Niners. That's what I'm going to say. I think the Niners were going to win this game. I think, the Seahawks they got to reevaluate some shit. They got to figure out their defense. If Trey Lance plays, God have mercy. If Trey Flowers plays, honestly, I don't want to see either of the Treys on the field. Trey Flowers, Trey Lance, keep them off the field.
You want to see Trey Sermon?
Get Trey Sermon, get him out of there. Also, Trey Brown for the Seahawks isn't going to play. Just none of the Treys playing. So I think, this is going to be, unfortunately, a wake-up call for the Seahawks. And I don't know. I think the Seahawks offense plays fine, but I just think the defense isn't able to get off the field. So I'm going to take the Niners to cover. Unfortunately, I know it's the first time I've ever predicted a non-Seahawks win on the channel, but I gotta maybe I gotta help the jinx. I don't know, but I think the Niners win this one. So
there's been some bias involved, considering you've never picked them to lose.
Nah, every week we're like, hey, pick the Seahawks to cover, and they have it. They did the first week, and then they didn't. So
I said big Niners win last week, so that didn't work out. You know that.
Well, it's Aaron Rodgers. I told you that. It's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but I wasn't expecting Dante Johnson and press man on Devontae Adams for a drive where he just
Hey man, I wasn't expecting Kirk Cousins to look like an MVP last week, but you know what?
Hey, the other thing that happened too in that game is Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball behind him. Can we please not get that this week, please?
Oh yeah, no, I would absolutely love if Darrell Taylor just get a forced fumble. He just pushed the ball out of Jimmy's hands, but I think that's going to do it for this episode. Big week coming up for the Seahawks. And obviously, go subscribe to Mass Channel Nuggets of Gold. They make 49ers content for any of you guys interested. And I think that's going to do it.
One more thing. I am going to actually, so even though obviously you guys aren't Seahawks fans, I'll come on before the offseason. But throughout the offseason, something I'm going to be adding to my channel is I'm going to be doing daily scouting videos. Defensively, it's going to be 49ers oriented a good amount. Defensively, the Niners and the Seahawks run a very similar scheme. So a lot of that defensive stuff is pretty. It's like the same deal for the Seahawks. Like they're looking at the same type of guys, a similar scheme. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll probably come on before then though. But
yeah, for sure. Appreciate having you on, and I think that's gonna do it. See you guys later.